is part two of my discussion about colored people and how they are actually disrupting the original black people in America, right? Now, me personally, my family comes from the South in the United States. My father's from Mississippi, my mother's from Arkansas, and their family came from New Orleans, Louisiana, right? And we have a lot of Native Americans back there. You know, when I went down there, I saw the pictures. My great-grandfathers, great-grandmothers, they all straight Indians, right? And I'm gonna show y'all something. So I got this computer in my car. They tell me everything, right? Tell me about the Mississippian people.
Here's a summary from Wikipedia. The Mississippian culture was a Native American civilization that flourished in what is now the Midwestern, Eastern, and Southeastern United States from approximately 800 CE to 1600 CE, varying regionally. It was known for building large, earthen platform mounds and often other shaped mounds as well.
Right, these are the ancestors to the Native Americans, right? But the real Native Americans, which is the black people, they say 800 CE, which is 800, is that after Christ, before Christ? Current era, so that's AD, basically 800 AD. Now that's 800 AD is 700 years before so-called Columbus came to America. We had the Mississippian people. The Mississippian people were not Mongolians or Spanish people, because the Spanish people didn't come over here. It was native black people, right? Well, they put us in these categories saying people of color, as if color is an actual land, like the United States of America, or I am of these particular people. My family, I am the first of this. But color is not a physical characteristic. It's interpreted by the mind based on radiation that repels and absorbs into surfaces of matter. That's how we perceive color. Color is subjected to the person's biological makeup, because some creatures don't have the same capacity to see the same colors that we see, and vice versa. We can't see every color that every insect or every animal can see. So color is not really reality. And there's no particular people in the earth that you could link yourself to that's called color. There's no country on the planet called color. This is something that they just bunch everybody into. A falsehood. When you research the word color, watch this. What is color?
Here's a summary from Wikipedia. Color, or color, is the characteristic of visual perception described through color categories, with names such as red, orange, yellow, green, blue, or purple. This perception of color derives from the stimulation of photoreceptor cells by electromagnetic radiation.
Visual perception. Basically, perceived, what you interpret. Stimulation. Stimulate certain cells in the body to see. Categorizing. You're just going to categorize everybody with a particular skin color that you determine because of your physical characteristics, but it's not reality. This is not a people. This is a deception. This is a way to actually include all of these people into America to weaken the original people in America who has the real claim to America, the descendants of the Mississippians, which is the actual so-called black people. But every so-called black person don't have the same skin color. We have different shades of brown, different shades of whatever. You see what I'm saying? And I'm trying to say, we can't keep calling ourselves colored people, because colored people is associated with Jim Crow, the Jim Crow era. This is how they classified all the so-called original black people, the natives, after they got rid of slavery. And they had to redefine these people. And they say colored only. Color was a placeholder because they didn't want to give you an actual landmass, an actual nationality, an actual people. So you can't really link yourself to nothing in reality. You just color. And now everybody in the world gets to come to America and claim that they're colored people to get the resources, to get the money, but they don't have no real connection to the so-called black people in America unless they're from England, because during the War of 1812, when America went to war with Britain, really they went to war with the Native Americans in the Midwest. The British was freeing enslaved black people, and they was bringing them to England to be free. So a lot of our people are in England. Also, we have some African countries. We have Liberia, and we have Sierra Leone. So a lot of our people are in Africa too, that we actually migrated to Africa in the 1800s. Also, we have history that a lot of our people from America was sent to the Caribbeans to be slaves too. So we actually have people that's linked to us by genetics and blood, but they're not linked to us by color. We have to figure out exactly who we really are, and we have to have something tangible in reality. Land and DNA and blood and a name, a family name, possibly a tribe, if you could figure that out. But none of that is called color. You can't just say I'm brown. Like the Hispanics, they get to call themselves Hispanics, which is a color term also. But a lot of the black people in America, we can't really benefit from being Hispanic because we're not Hispanic. Or basically how they categorize us, we're not in that category. We're classified as black, non-Hispanic. We have so-called black Hispanics, but Hispanic doesn't really link you to a particular country. It's just general. They just say the whole Western Hemisphere and the descendants of the Spaniards and the so-called enslaved, conquered Native Americans are considered Hispanic. But you have different countries also that could be subcategories, or they're not even subcategories. The word Hispanic is just another way to divide and dilute the people, or to unify a bunch of people against the so-called black people, right? And when you actually classify our descendants that was sent to, or we migrated there probably thousands of years ago to South America and to the islands, right? When you classify them as Hispanic, you actually weaken our demographics and our numbers, by calling them something else, even though they might consider themselves as black people. And black is the universal term in the world that means black Americans, because a lot of Africans don't consider themselves black. They consider themselves their nationality. But the black Hispanics who make up a large population in America, even though in demographic terms they're not considered black based on how they distribute the resources, the money, but when they actually vote, when they vote like black people. They are, if you actually include a lot of the black Hispanics to the black population in America, they say we got 50 million, that might go up to 80 million blacks. If you link all these black people from all over the world who's actually in America, if you actually categorize them as black people, the number might be in the hundreds of million, at least 100 million people. What I'm saying is, we gotta stop considering ourselves a colored people. There's no people on earth that's linked to color. It's all linked to history, to culture, to territory, to wars, to treaties, to interactions, migration. It's documented evidence of these people's existence. You can't just call these people of color. All the people that's not a Caucasian on earth, you're going to call them a colored people. And in law, when you look at this, in law, color means deception. Watch this. What is color in law?
According to Wikipedia, in United States law, the term color of law denotes the mere semblance of legal right, the pretense or appearance of right. Hence, an action done under color of law adjusts the law to the circumstance, yet said apparently legal action contravenes the law.
The appearance of rights, deception. These people they look like they're real people with rights, but they're not. They're colored people. They're not real people. You see what I'm saying? But that term color has to be eliminated. We have to be identified as people linked to reality, to history, to culture, to genetics, to contributions. And you can't do that by just saying a colored people. Because you're saying that you have nothing to do with nothing in reality. You're like a shadow. A colored person is a shadow, a ghost, an apparition. You are voluntarily forfeiting everything that your real people and yourself have contributed to the earth. You could have built whole countries. You could have invented. All your contributions are null and void and forfeited because you're saying you're not a real person. You have no rights, no legal authority on planet Earth. You're not a natural person. You're a fake colored person. And you got to stop doing that. And the so-called original people of America, descended from the Mississippians or the Mayans or whatever, the Incas, the Algonquins, And in Africa, you have the original, what you call them? You have Mali, the Mali Empire. You have a lot of original empires in Africa also that the people have to actually identify with those ancestors. And maybe we have ancestors in common, from thousands of years ago. But as of right now, we have to be linked to territory and treaties and actual people so we could claim our birthright and we could actually start self-governing. Because every people have the right to self-government, self-determination, and autonomy. And also the so-called black people, which is a colored term in America, we have to actually exercise autonomy over our own reality, our natural rights, God-given rights, and have to stop subjecting ourselves to domination, foreign domination by a foreign power. Because the Caucasian in America are a foreign power, and we are subjected to foreign domination. That's not freedom. That's captivity. And the best way to get liberated from foreign domination is to not participate with the conqueror. And when you don't participate with the conqueror, then the conqueror will take you to war to force you into compliance, right? But as long as you're voluntarily participating, there's no need for the war. And in the law, in international law, if two sovereign powers engage in conflict, the losing power has to forfeit everything based on the terms of the treaty, the peace treaty. You can lose your whole identity, your whole country, all your territory, all your property. It could be taken legally if two foreign powers or sovereign powers engage in conflict. The losing power, but the America don't want to take the original native black people to war. For one, they really can't because we're not seen as a unified people. We don't have a flag. We're not seen as a sovereign power. So we can't really conquer America legally based on law, based on international law. But once we're declared as a sovereign people recognized by another sovereign government, we could conquer America. We could do it, but it won't be recognized by the world unless we're just a superpower and we just force everybody to bow down. But the first step to reclaiming America and all of our territory is to declare ourselves a sovereign, independent people with one united flag and one united identity, or whatever, one united idea. And we got to be recognized by the world. The world acting like we don't exist. We don't see you. As long as they don't see you, you don't exist. We're just a color. We just like a red sign when you're driving down the street and it says stop. We not, we just an inanimate colored object. And we got to stop doing that. Got to stop participating in our own genocide, our own oppression. But people think that the black Americans think that we're part of the United States government. But the United States government took our real people to war and conquered our territory, conquered our land, and put their flags over our architecture, over our cities. We're a conquered people. We are prisoners of war. You know, we have a nation that precedes the United States of America. United States of America is basically a new nation. It's not really old. It's not thousands of years old like some of these nations in the world. You know, our original nation, before we was conquered by America in the 1800s, really we was conquered in the 1800s, starting with the war 1812, and then we had the Indian Removal Act by Andrew Jackson. Watch this. Tell me about the Indian Removal Act.
According to Wikipedia, the Indian Removal Act was signed into law on May 28, 1830, by United States President Andrew Jackson. The law authorized the president to negotiate with Southern Native American tribes for their removal to federal territory west of the Mississippi River in exchange for white settlement of their ancestral lands.
Right, literally, our territories, our country has been conquered recently, and it's been erased from history. There's this book that you should read. It's called The Prince by Machiavelli. In this book, he said, the only way to conquer a nation as ancient as France is to kill off the entire family of the royal family. You got to kill all the nobles loyal, right, to the royal family, all the knights. And then you have to erase the history. And once you erase the history, you have to rewrite the history as though you always ruled them. Therefore, they won't even know they won't even know what happened before you came. They'll think you was always the ruler. And this is how the Caucasian has conquered America, using the Department of Education. They basically erased the original black people out of history, erased the evidence of their kingdom, erased the names of all of the people who ran America before the Caucasians conquered in the 1800s, when they expanded westward to the Midwest, to the West Coast. A lot of those civilizations was erased with the pen, even though they might still literally be there. But the people don't know because we've been brainwashed, because they erased the history. And they killed all the kings and queens and the princes and the nobles. They exterminated them. Then they put the children in slavery as orphans. And then they retaught us in these schools, these so-called Indian schools, teaching them that they're a slave from Africa. You know? And this has to be stopped. We gotta stop being called colored people. You have to demand that you're given a nationality, or you're given the name of your nationality. You have the right to know your nationality. You have the right to a nationality. You have a right to be linked to your people, a people. You have a right to a flag. You have a right to autonomy. As long as you keep considering yourself a colored person, a colored people, a people of color, you will never get that. It's just stalling for time, because eventually it has to be addressed. The world can't sit back and let this people in America not be associated with any people on earth, any territory on earth. We're like aliens. We have no nation, no land, no people, no name, nothing, no history, no culture, other than what we create now. But we can't link into our ancient past. This should make every so-called black American upset, you know, enraged.